Okay, welcome back guys. So first things first, this is going to be a live build. It's something I've done before. I'm gonna have something off screen that's guiding me a little bit, just to make sure that I get all the little intricacies correct. This is something now that I've been asked for a couple of times, is how do I deal with recurring tasks within the context of the Focus streams and Focus Pro. The answer that I have is grounded in the Focus Pro template, which is a paid template. It requires the spark pad of the day page and the snips in order for it to come together beautifully. The idea here is we're going to leverage snips and certain aspects of the functionality from the day page to pull routines in and create a task version of that routine. The idea is that you still have a task which is driving the system, but then you can set up routines as elements that can pull into the day page and automatically create a task ready for you to start working on. So let's say you have cleaned the office twice a week or things like that. These are things where when you pull the magnet in the day page, it will set itself up. It's leveraging the power that's already in the Pro so that you have almost automatic scheduling of what's happening within your structure. So without further ado, we're going to get straight into the build, and I'm going to start off by creating a routine tag. So it's going to be a routine, and we're going to convert to a super tag. I'm going to go through at a relative speed, otherwise will be quite a while, but if you want the basics to Tana, then I would recommend a couple of videos in the description to get you started, but this is going to go a little bit faster. So convert to the super tag, and we'll also create the function for that routine as well. So it's going to be called recurring because we want to be able to adapt this across various other different super tags as well. We don't just want to have this down as a one shot only. The whole point of building these modular functions is that they can be spread across the entire system. So we're going to go straight in and make him grey like all our other super tags. We're going to delete this search because it's adding just bloat in our system, and we're going to hide that search from the menu because this recurring element, we don't want it to turn up in day-to-day operations. So there's a couple of things we're going to need in order to get the recurring commands to actually work. First one is we're going to have an original date, and that we're going to set as a date field. The next one down is going to be recurrence time, and if I spell recurrence correctly, yep, I have. So for this instance, we're going to set this as a option, and within that option, we're going to have, well, I mean, you could have days, weeks, months, and years. So I've added a little bit more than what I would normally do, but you'll be able to see why shortly, because you can be very granular down to the minute, or you can just be as wide as the day or week, month or year. What's going to happen here means that this recurrence time has a bunch of options. I've put that in the wrong place. I've just realized, so we're going to move all them up into the predetermined options, and therefore we can select these down from here. Make sure everything's spelt correctly, which it looks like it is. And then the next one we're going to set up is the number of. So this is going to be a number field, and what this is going to point to, is how many days, how many weeks, how many years, how many minutes, how many, etc, etc. So we'll have the original date, and then how often it's going to repeat. And then we're going to have the actual due date that we've got from our system nodes that we use currently throughout the rest of the content. And that is all going to be set up there. So we've got the original date, and then how many times is going to recur, and then we're going to have the actual date that it's due. From there, we're going to come down and we'll start building out the actual commands for the recurring. So because this is going to be part of a bigger structure, we're going to do two things here. One is we're going to put the recurrence element on the unchecked trigger. There's a reason for this, because this system can be paired up with multiple other different things. But what we're going to do is reset the occurrence. So unchecked, we're going to reset due date for the next event. Okay. Now, because this is going to be checked, this might not become exactly clear why I'm going to do what I'm going to do right now, but what's happening when the event's checked, which means there's going to be a checkbox check. And I don't want that to be on the routine, because the routine is going to be an extension of Snip, and this is something which we want to reset itself. So I'm actually going to set the done status, and we're going to have it as node with no checkbox. So that means once it's been approved, it's now going to reset the due dates, and then it will reset itself back to having no checkbox. So now we're going to reset the original date from scheduled. Okay. What we're going to do here is we are going to insert a relative date, and we're going to enter the due date field in here. That's going to have a date time granularity of a day, and we're going to have the original scheduled what did I call it? I called it the original date. It could actually be a lowercase d. And this is going to be on the target node. Okay, and I actually want this to be set to the recurrence time. Oh no, I don't. I want to keep that as day. Which actually means that we don't want minute or hour there. Okay, little mistake of mine. So we don't want to be that descriptive with it because of the way that this structure system works. I don't think we want to... I mean, you could do it that way, but I don't think we necessarily need to. So that's a way to be a little bit more extra granular with your... Let's try that again. So now what we want to do is set the next due date. Now the reason why we've done this way is so that we can have two insert relative date commands within the same command structure. We can't put this within the same command block otherwise to have two elements of it. So we're going to say in number of, and then we're going to go recurrence time, and then we're going to ask it for the target node to be the due date. Okay, and now we're going to have the reference date. So this needs to look up Don't know why I'm doing it this way. I can make my life a lot easier by opening that up there and coming up here. Okay, so we want to look up the original date. I'll copy you and place you there. Okay, so we've got the target date, we've got the reference date, and now what we also need to have is the date time granularity for this guy as well, and set that to day. Okay. So, the reason why we have the number of and recurrence time is for this relative date string. So we're going to look at the original date, and then we're going to change this date based on the number time and the recurrence of the original date. It's going to be a date granularity, which means the smallest number it's going to put in there is by date. You can, if you really wanted to, set up your own field to have that as a reference as well, but let's keep things simple. So now we're going to configure routine, and we're going to extend him down from function recurring. Okay. We're also going to extend him down from snip. So why is that a reference from somewhere? Okay, I'm going to accept it because it's gone. Okay. So that's really the first steps done. We've created a routine, we've extended down from snip, and we've created the function for the recurring element. So if we now create a routine which is, let's say, clean the office maybe, and we'll turn that into a routine. So now we've got set up the snip, so we can click that, and we'll set it up as a task. The original date can be, for testing purposes, let's call it the 3rd. This day is going to be today. The recurrence time is going to be a day, and the number of let's do 1 week. How about that? We'll add it to the other snip list just for the time being, which means I think we can hit that and it should go. Okay, it has not gone. Is the reason why it hasn't gone. It hasn't gone because we've set it for today. So if I actually set it for tomorrow, that should disappear. Perfect. Okay, so we know the system's working. So let's put that back to today. And the intention here now is that we could hit this button and pull in a bunch of things, but it's not working. So what we're going to do is now set up the rest of this functionality so that when we have an instance of the routine, clean the office, which is ready, it's going to be pulled to the today page, make a copy of itself, reset the next due dates, and then send itself back to the vault for the next one. So this instance itself never actually fully completes. It's the actions that we're going to be driven by. This is more of a container to understand what's going on in different areas. So now that that's handled, we don't need to assign a status to this because we're going to do something on the other side. Okay. I'm going to keep that open actually just for the moment. We're going to close down these two elements on the right hand side here. We've got the task structure all set up. We've got clean the office created. We can see that if we drag this onto here, it creates a task because we have this extending down from snip. However, this isn't good enough because you'll notice now that we've got an origin and a focus missing from this routine. So there's a couple of things we can do for this. First things first, we want to pull all active tasks in on this element. We want to check out this search feature because these tasks here are running on the results from this search command. So if we go in here and we have a quick look, then we can see that stream actions not done to do. This is all okay. If it's got a date set, if it's overdue, it will pull itself into this space. What we're not doing is targeting the clean the office routine itself, because it's not a descendant of a stream action. We don't want it to be either, because we don't want it to have a focus system. So in this instance, we're just going to go or, and we're going to go recurring. Would be probably a good way to start with that. So now anything that's recurring will also pop into this list as well. So now we can hit pull and it will pull everything to the today page. Great, but we can see now that there is a bit of an error. So we're going to go back and I will explain where we can go from this. We want to configure this node. We want to go into transform snips. So within here, we basically want to account for the fact that the snip is already there, because this button is going to pull it in. So we also want to make a few little changes because it's a routine and not a straight off snip. We want to make sure that things like the date, and we want to make sure that things like the focus or the origin are also attached. So in regards to routine, what we're actually going to do is I'm actually going to break my ruling here, because this is a more of a functional element, and we're going to add links to focus as a way to make sure that the routine is assigned to the right thing. So in this instance, clean the office is going to be associated to the demo project that I've got, but you could have this as an area. I think we'll just call this, let's call this home chores, and we'll call this hobby, just for all intensive purposes right now. So we have the origin set and we have the focus set, no problem. We could have the origin as office chores maybe, and that can be I'll leave it as that for the moment. We don't need to have both of those set. So clean the office is associated to the home chores. This becomes into play in just a moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this command here, make a copy of snips via Tana paste, and we're going to filter this off. So this is going to be snip routine filter, and this is going to have a node filter not recurring, and this is going to have a node filter of hashtag recurring. Okay, so name tag, all this is fine, no problem. We're going to add something in here. We're going to go due date, important to put the two fields, and then we're going to add due date. What this will do is now copy the fact that it's a due date. We're going to do something a little bit more than what is normal. Tana recently brought out an update, which means we can now target nodes above and get certain elements for those different things. So that's cool, but it gave me an idea to do something else over here as well. So now what we can actually do is go into routine, and I'm going to copy origin, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add name with a little thing, and we're going to do this, and we're going to go node ID. I think that's how it's spelled. Let me just double check for my own side double checky. Yes, so that is now correct. And then I'm also going to do the same thing now for focus. So the focus is going to be like this, which means it is the focus field, and we're taking the focus field and I'm making sure that it's keeping the reference of the ID there as well. And it's also now going to be in proper syntax for Tana paste. So now this also needs to have those elements around it, and then we're good. So now they're both all set up. The brackets basically mean that it's going to be contained within the element, and the way that things tend to work is you have the name of the node, you have this little up arrow, I'm not sure what you refer to it as, and then you have the sysnode ID. So what that should do is when we pull the office onto the today page, it's going to assign the origin as the routine, and it's going to assign the focus as whatever we've set the focus as in here. So it means it should be assigned to home chores and clean the office as the task. So let's test very quickly how that was working. I've pulled the wrong thing on. Perfect. And that's the way Snips are working. So technically speaking, if I delete this guy one more time and I reset his date to due date today, his date is not resetting. Why is that not happening? I'll tell you why that's not happening, because we didn't have it establish itself as done. So when it's come through here, we're now going to set the done status as done, and that should trigger it to reset the date. Bada bing, bada boom. So that's all great. We're going to go back just one time. We'll delete this out of the system, and I'm going to make sure that when we bring the tasks over that changes, which it does not. So there's a reason for that. We're going to go into the command and we're going to check what's going on here. No, I was right the first time. I want to be inside of this area. So at this stage, there's a reason why it's not working, and it's because invalid status specified. Why is that? So I need to just double check why this is happening. When I pull everything in, that's okay. It's not happening there. We're having a snip routine filter, and we want to move the original back to there. So that's all okay, fine. There's a reason why that's all working the way that that's working, and that's all working there because of that. So we're okay there. Invalid status specified. Why is that? It's right in front of my face. Okay. That was silly of me. So the troubleshoot there was I didn't use the actual toggle, I just wrote done, and it was confusing the hell out of it. So now we've done that, we can set up all our routines that we want, and it will be all set up according to the rest of the system. That is for scheduled routines, and then you can create the task whenever you want. You can tick that off, you can complete it whenever and however you choose, but the routine will reset itself for the next date. So that's the way that's working. Now Do I say anything else? Do I do much more? That's the question. How much further do I want to carry on with this? So really what I've done now is taken it as far as we can take it in terms of creating the functionality, adding it to the daily focus. Now what we can do is we can build this into the functionality of the schema a little bit further. So if I go to the Focus Pro elements, we can go into schema, I can go down to status, and what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to duplicate the status base, and we're going to call it recurring snip. Recurring, actually, because it doesn't need anything else to go about with it. So the recurring element, we're going to drag, well, before I do that, let's click into here and let's configure. I start typing away too quick, I'm sorry. So we're going to go to the onChild added, and we're just going to change this and add him in here. And add him in there. So now we can disconnect you. Well, we don't even need to disconnect, we just drag you in here. So now you have that functionality working across everything else. Okay, so now we've got recurring and Focus Pro and Focus Base. So now you don't even need to worry about routines, you just set them up. So if we go down here, we can actually set up a few. Let's say we've got those home chores, and we want to take out the garbage. We'll create a routine. We'll set the original date as today. Every 3 days. Don't know how quickly people go through trash. I go through it daily, but we'll call it 3. And then the due date would be also set for today. We want the tag to be a task, and the snip type can be technically an action. We've got the focus set because we've already set up in here, and we've got that all set as well. So now every time we want to hit the active tasks, we will have take out the garbage, and then the next one will be reset for the next time. We can take this again one little step further, and we can go into the daily focus, and we can go to views and have execute. And what we can do is you can add in the options down to the actions queue. Come down here, and we're going to have or #recurring. And now anything that's recurring that's with the same due dates will also pop up in these areas as well. And that's really all it is. So that's how to install Focus Pro with routines. The intention here is that to give you a use case where you can hopefully do much more than what I have just suggested here with routines. You can adapt the system so that Snips have these automated responses no matter what you're doing. Routines is just one use case. Routines could also be used for habits or anything that's on a time-based scheduled instance. The idea for it to just create an action for you, and then you can complete that action when you want, but the date still needs to be done when it needs to get done by. That all happens automatically. So the snip will reset itself, it will create a version of the action when it's ready to be completed. You can start that earlier if you want to as well. The Focus Pro template is available at $129. It's on my website, links are all in the description. there was no way for me to make this a free version. It leverages some of the pro features in order to make this achievable. Anyone who has currently purchased the Pro and wants to upgrade to this, just give me a day or two to work out exactly how that upgrade process looks like. It will be a case of you just add this in, but I need to double check a couple of the instances. But anybody who purchases Focus Pro today will be able to access the routines immediately. With that being said, thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed.